Rosemary Hatfield did that beautifully. She absolutely gave herself to it many years earlier. So I guess the story of our chapel really began like in 1922 when she was born. She was going to plant some good seeds in her lifetime, and we were one of them. And part of what I realized was that there's so many ways that we can plant seeds. I think Mother Teresa's quote that I love the most is simply, it's not necessary that you do great things, but that you do small things with great love. I can get that. You can do that day to day. Whether we're planting a garden, writing a song, just tending, giving some time and attention to an ailing friend, or just supporting each other in our day-to-day interactions. So there was a piece that as I was working on this, and Crow's known Rosemary longer than I have. Probably Val's the only one who's known her longer than that. But there's, or at least here, that's known her longer than that. But as we were talking about this and kind of supporting me as I was pulling my thoughts together, he said, love plus determination. He said, maybe love plus determination equals a high level of synchronicity. I like that a lot. Rosemary, I'm sure, would agree that synchronicity was one of her very favorite words. I think it was an indicator for her of the playfulness and presence of spirit. And she could find those places in the synchronicity of life. So there was a lot of synchronicity around Rosemary. It was just, and she would just break into laughter and delight. She was an amazing blend of a strong, well-trained Unity student and a very simple, childlike person too. She would be delighted with the dogs coming to church. That was one of her favorite things, was to find and rescue a dog. And so somehow being here on this little road, she found more than her share of dogs. I think her willing spirit was like a magnet, and people would bring them up and drop them off, and she would take them and find them a home. She was good about that. I think one of the pieces that Ron said that I liked a lot was, who else would be beginning such a big vision as beginning a New Thought church in a community that hadn't yet held that in their 60s, when most of us were winding down. Here she was on fire, and what started it was a building, that little building. So what I decided was that even though it's been up here in print, and a lot of you may have read it, it's not that long, and I wanted you to hear it in her words. So I'm going to just read a little bit about how Rosemary, at that early stage of our history. Opportunities, decisions, so these are her words. Opportunities, decisions, memories, and long-held desires have a way of weaving themselves together and materializing in amazing fashion. I remember back in Miami in 1938 when I was 16, my friend Betty Jean asked if I would go on a vacation with her and her family to a place her mother had learned of in the North Georgia mountains, a country boarding house, room, board, and all you could eat, $12 a week. I was excited. My folks said I could go. The day came when 6 of us packed ourselves into their Model A and started out. There were no expressways in those days. It seemed like we bounced along for many thousands of miles before finally arriving in Dillard. It was after midnight as we circled lost in the dark through the Baptist cemetery and the churchyard, and then found the big stone house that would later become the Dillard House, then called Hope Home. We were able to wake someone who gave us temporary rooms. By then, my friend Betty and I were giggling hysterically, only sleeping about 2 hours as we dealt with getting comfortable in the old squeaky bed and the sounds of pots and pans rattling around in the kitchen below as breakfast was being prepared. In the morning, we ate a huge country breakfast. Henry, the Dillard's 18-year-old son, approached us and asked if we would like to go hiking with him. Of course we would go, no matter that we'd never gone gone mountain climbing and had only had 2 hours sleep, I still remember that we slid down the mountain after stumbling up. But after that, Dutch, or Henry, took us under his wing and we went on many adventurous outings. It was a great summer and we repeated it the next year. During that time, we got to know the Dillard family quite well. Mr. and Mrs. Dillard were the innkeepers, and their oldest son, Jim, was on the road a good bit in those days selling produce. Yes, they did grow their own food. Louise was a young school teacher. Louise was destined to become our patron saint in giving and leasing us this land. In 1978, exactly 40 years later, my husband Duke and I came through Dillard. We had come to inspect some land of the Dillard Highlands Road that we had invested in through a group in Miami. And we were trying to decide where in the mountains we would like to build a vacation house. We ate at the Dillard house, and I asked the man behind the registration desk how to find Henry. He told her over on the new restaurant on 441, and he chuckled, "You may not recognize him." So anyway, she approached the little Dillard restaurant that was out on 441. I don't know if you remember, but I remember it. Something stupid. It was, what did they call it? Was it Dillard Junior? Junior, I was it Junior? Very creative. As Rosemary's husband Duke and she approached the Dillard house, a huge man was coming out the door. And as he walked toward us, he stopped and looked at her and said, "Could you be Rosemary Burkhart?" It stunned her that 40 years later, we would remember her. So a lovely reunion entailed, and that trip brought their attention strongly back to the Dillard Highlands area. In 1979, they bought a lot in Sky Valley, 4 miles up the mountain from Dillard, and our house was built there during 1980. During the time of construction, I often stayed at the Best Western Motel in Dillard and kept driving by a dilapidated cabin on the adjoining property and longing to restore it. I understood it was not for sale. It was gray board and batten, a story and a half high. Its front stoop sagged, and the tin roof above the stoop was twisted and drooping. The glass was out of some of the windows. It had a little brick chimney. I just loved it. It would make a darling Unity chapel where I could start an outreach and continue my church work. I had worked at Unity in Miami for many years, and in 1977 had received my teacher's license from the Unity School of Christianity in Missouri. No small feat. And familiar, which is familiar to millions as the publishers of the Daily Word. One Sunday in April of 1981, as I drove through Dillard and glanced up at my beloved cabin, I was amazed to see a for sale sign on the side. I quickly pulled up the slope, copied the phone number, and called. Found that it was for sale to be moved, and that bids would be taken on June 1st. That meant if I bid and got the cabin, then I had to have land to put it on. My husband Duke encouraged me, and I began to look for land. On June 1st, I called and was awarded the house for $250, but had not yet found any land. I prayed about it, and my guidance said, "You've not seen the right land yet. When you do, you will recognize it because it is beautiful and on the stream." The deadline approached, and Louise Dillard called and said, "If you can't find any land, come get back to me. I do not have any land I can sell you, but I can arrange a lease." So it was that when the deadline came, I met Louise on Estatola Falls Road, which is now Wayfarers Lane. First we looked on the north side of the road and then crossed over. "How would this be?" she said. "Louise, this is it," I said, remembering my guidance that I would recognize the land because it would be beautiful and on the stream. Here was a member of the Dillard family back in my life after all those years and coming to my aid. In his shop in Mountain City, John Welch constructed a base using giant I-beams on which to move the cabin to its new site. It was August before all necessary arrangements could be made, and then the day came when it stood by the rapids in the woods. And that was just the beginning. The restoration was to take 5 more years. Through a friend, I found Bob Strigo, a former insurance executive, now a fix-it man. It was he and I who worked first on the gutting and then the restoration. During those years, a prayer group I had joined and met there. Sometimes sitting in the rubble. Cypress doors my father had made 50 years before in 4 small interior rooms were converted into one large room and a loft balcony. The stairs were narrowed and moved to curve around a corner. French doors were installed on the side, opening up to a view toward the water. In Miami, Larry Mize made stained glass windows for 2 of the loft windows. Bob built a front deck. Clarence McCall installed steps made of white oak logs. The inside walls were white, the trim and antique light oak. A metal chimney kit replaced the brick. A white porcelain wood stove was installed on a brick base. It was later replaced with a gas stove by her son Alan. Blue wall-to-wall carpet was installed, complementing the pale blue and the antique white brackets. Upstairs shelves were built for books for the library and a chandelier with a paddle fan at time. On September 12, 1986, I conducted the first Sunday morning service. Shortly after, as I was planning to go to a conference and wondering who I could get to take my place, Ron Lindahl came to mind. I had met him when he was a CSA minister working with Roy Eugene Davis at Lakemont. Now I understood he was in the illustration and advertising business and living quite nearby in Raven Gap. I called him. He said he and his wife had been talking that he should be getting back into that work, and we worked together ever since. We have since incorporated as an independent New Thought church under the name Estatoa Wayfarers Chapel and Unity Resource Center. We remain affiliated with the Unity School of Christianity. We closely follow beliefs, philosophy, and form of worship of Unity. Unique to this ministry, we do not have a formal membership, but consider that it is a membership of the heart. Anyone, no matter where they reside, may count themselves a member if they feel our chapel is their spiritual home. We welcome people of all faiths. We acknowledge the Spirit of God is absolute good, everywhere present, all peaceful, all knowing. We acknowledge the Spirit of God, the Christ, in each of us as our spiritual teacher. And we have faith that his inspiration is original, divine, and orderly ideas, a continuity of divine order and guidance in all of our affairs. We speak spiritual truth and to live by it. We believe in study, prayer, and inspiration from the Holy Bible Scriptures. We are, and have always been, a traveler's church, and have been visited by people from many points of the globe. And then she goes on to describe the different services that they were having at that time, Mastermind and the Thursday outings and things that meant a lot to a lot of people for many years. We still have the lending library. Tapes and CDs may be borrowed. We have a building fund with the goal of enlarging our facility and providing for a Sunday school. The original building had not the first sign of plumbing. This year we have added a bathroom with a gravity-fed water system. The presence of God is felt very much here in the woods by the rapids that run off of Estatoa Falls. Sometimes we feel God's love through one of his creatures. There was the Christmas candle lighting service when 2 deer came and stood across the rapids and looked in at us. It's the only time we've seen deer. Butterflies were regular visitors in our daytime prayer services during the years of construction. And it is our prayer that each person who comes to the chapel will feel the presence of God and the love and the peace that passes all understanding. So that's to you from Rosemary over the years. So in looking at how I can bring all of that forward a bit, I of course started thinking about all the wayfarers who have come through the years and have contributed in so many different ways. We've got several boxes and a couple of photograph albums over in Rosemary's Chapel, as well as quite a wonderful library. So it is both a fabulous place to stop for meditation, as well as just a good place to come and remember. There's a part of me that gets overwhelmed by life sometimes, when it just gets to feeling like it's too much on my shoulders. My ego gets going, and I think that I've got to take care of things. And I forget that we're always in that space of community where we are taking care of things together. There's no way really to separate it. Our ego thinks there is, but there isn't. And that was really pushed or made home, or we brought home for me yesterday, I was coming down to look at some of the pictures. I wanted to reconnect with them with that part of the story, the bigger piece that expanded from where I just left off in those first years to where it's taken us through the years. And I'm a visual person. Pictures of the people who've been here, who helped raise this building. Just watching both Rosemary and Ron gently move from the young, bright spirits of the beginnings of this chapel into these mature, strong, mellow spirits that we've become as we age. It was good for me to see the pictures and to remember the people in the pictures. So I brought probably a dozen of my favorites out and left them up here. If you want to, they're right there in front of the piano. Stop and just take a look and recognize that we are here by the grace and the vision and the commitment of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who come before us, who would take the time to come and put up wainscoting, to stain it, to change the light bulbs, to build the deck. The deck was, gosh, a labor of love. I think it was mostly men. It seemed Ron showed up every Tuesday, and a group of folks would show up, whoever could, and just work on the deck together. It was designed by Bill, well, I'm not sure if design is the right word, but we had an engineer named Bill Isley, who was a NASA scientist. Bill and his wife Doris had moved here in the early stages of the church, and you'll see them in almost all the early pictures. Bill was determined that deck would hold a lot of people. No will. It does. When they had their 50th wedding anniversary here, it was packed. Wow. So it's a reminder for me that we each have gifts to give, and that it's important that we give them. It just is. It's sometimes the weeds we pull out front, or the things that we thin out, or the time that we spend cleaning up inside or outside. There's so many ways that we contribute. Financially is a large part, obviously. We haven't had debt in this chapel, and that is a huge gift. Very few churches can say that. So one of the pieces that was really sweet was as we started down the mountain, I saw, we were coming by Tiger Mountain, the summer house, excuse me, as we were coming down the mountains. I wanted to stop at the summer house. Paula Jones, who some of you may or may not know, but she is just a remarkable woman, very creative soul, had moved to the mountains, gosh, early, well, not long, I guess it was around 86 or 87. She's in a lot of the early photos, but when she first got here, she asked her husband, Barry, anyway, asked Barry where she could find a spiritual community. He said, there's only one place you want to go. I'll take you to the park. And he brought her here. And she recognized Rosemary as a kindred spirit, as a sister, is how she still refers to her. And when I asked her yesterday, she'd take a minute, just tell me a couple of quick Rosemary stories. The first one she told me, I think, is one of the sweetest. Still brought her to tears to remember it 30 years later, is that when she came to the church the first time in the old building, the little talking podium was set much like this in front of the glass, but it's double glass doors that face out to the street. And so she came in and took her seat, and Rosemary came up to speak. She said the sunlight was at just enough of an angle that she could see her aura. And she'd never seen one before, but there's a field of light and energy that we each extend in the world. And Rosemary's was very, very bright and beautiful. She said it just really touched her. It was the first and only time that she really seen it. She said, I wanted to tell myself it was just sunlight, but you could see it all the way around her. It was the same. So the next quick story that she had was that as they were setting up the library upstairs, Rosemary had asked her if she would come and work with her on that. And she said, would you just organize the books up there? So she'd gone up and was up there on the floor, putting books in order. And Rosemary was downstairs working on something, and she went, Paula, where are you? And she called out, I'm up here with the bees. And Rosemary, of course, went right into, there's bees up there? But no, she was filing in the bees section of the library. So she said they got the greatest chuckle out of that for the longest time. Just, up here with the bees. Been accused, that it was the bees that she called out to her. So it came down the mountain with those two bits of sweetness dancing in our hearts. And we got here and retrieved the pictures. And a car pulled into the bottom parking lot. Opened his trunk. That's interesting. So I went over to see who it was. It was a fellow named John. He he's been part of the Atlanta Unity for many years, and moved up to the Highlands area. And he said, I don't get here very often, but I love to stop here from time to time to just be in the energy of it. So we spoke for just a minute or two more. And as I was coming back up, another van pulled in, a van with a lot of stickers on it, somebody who traveled a lot. And, God, this is interesting. Again, synchronicities. He got out of his van and walked towards me as I was walking from the lower parking lot. And greeted him and said, what can I do for you? And he said, he stuck out his hand to shake my hand. He said, I'm a wayfarer. I said, welcome, wayfarer. You're in the right place. And he said, I said, my name is Joyce Oliver. I said, I'm Larry Mize, M-I-Z-E. Larry Mize was a dear friend of Rosemary's in Miami. And when he found out that she was building this, he offered to build the stained glass windows there in the church, there in that chapel. And I never heard any of the story about the design of it. You can actually see it from out here, but it's fabulous when you look at it from inside. When he was meditating on what shape and how he could work with it, these are two smaller windows with a support beam in between. You have, as he was saying, you have to look at it through the artist's eye, how to connect all of that through a solid piece. And he said what he envisioned was, and as meditation, as I understand it, what he envisioned was a chalice, or a cauldron was the other word that he used, that could hold, it was capable of holding the fire of our hearts. That we are, his understanding is that we are all here to burn brightly, to give our gifts and our life a light into the world, and that a cauldron or a chalice was what he wanted to send to this chapel. So now when I look at it, I see that. I see that that's part of where and how he chose the colors that he did. And he'd been here, I think, once before over the years. He is very much a wayfarer. He loves knowing that this place is here, holding the energy of peace, and the place that Rosemary referred to, that peace that passes understanding, that when we get quiet, we can see it, feel it, beating in our hearts, in our own depths, guiding our wisdom, illuminating, and bringing us back to that place that knows that we're not in this alone. We're always in this together. And that we're always blessed by the love and the vision of so many people who've gone before us. It was quite a privilege to just get to sit and hear some of Larry's stories and just enjoy that sweet synchronicity that would have John show up down below so that Crow and I would stay long enough to be here when Larry pulled in the van. So there's pictures of Larry in his window over there also, in younger days. Oh, I loved that whole adventure. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to share with you in particular. just that safe space of saying that we are the caretakers for this generation, this time frame, and that it is up to us to anchor the energy of peace and love and to tend this part of the garden, as Mimi was saying, that is ours to tend, this little piece of the earth, that it may be here for future people, future wayfarers. The other piece that I loved when I saw your grandgirls coming in today is that the pictures that I pulled out includes people of all ages, and realizing that the children in those pictures are adults out in the world. Someplace in them is a memory of having been here and having been touched by maybe a Sunday school teacher or just the sweetness of an Easter egg hunt on a spring day. There have been weddings, christenings, memorials, prayer vigils, meditation classes, teachers from many traditions, Buddhists, Native people, Freeman Owl, Yellow Horse Man, Golden Bear, and our wonderful Swami Beyondananda. I don't know if anyone got to hear him, but he did a beautiful program for us many years ago. And always many gifted musicians, Laura and Crow and Lisa and Galen and Maida and Dan and Thea and Chuck and more than I can recall at this particular moment. I don't think it's great going through the pictures and remembering them. Music that can touch our hearts. Again and again, the power and the beauty of music. We are all in this together. I want to close with one more thought. Arthur Cataldo is a wonderful one of my Ubuntu members. And Arthur reminding us that we each and every one of us have a lifetime of rich experiences that bring us to become the spiritual beings that we are, that strengthen us and give us depth as spiritual beings. I believe that when we share the stories of our lives, it is both a gift and a window into a greater understanding and compassion of the complexities of our nature. And I invite you to find that place in you that feels safe and comfortable here, and come offer to share your story too. Thank you. We've been closing with prayer, the unity prayer, the peace prayer, which is always one of my favorites. But I also love that sweet one that we do, the unity one that is our prayer of protection. So if you want to circle, we can circle. If you want to stand, we can stand.